Welcome to Board Games and Chill. Thanks for joining us today as we review Dwellings of Eldervale. I emphasize Eldervale because multiple times over the weekend we have called it Everdale, but it is not that. So anyways, as we hop in, my name is Gabriella.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Jerome. So the story of Dwellings of Eldervale. There was a giant magical kingdom called Eldervale. In this kingdom there were many cities and it was unparalleled in its magic. All of a sudden, a magical, cataclysmic event happened and destroyed this kingdom, leaving nothing but ruins and giant magical elemental monsters. Many millennia later, these different races of mythical creatures are trying to resettle their kingdom, Eldervale. Each one of them have grown into different beings. And they're all trying to fight for dominance and control of Eldervale, trying to fight each other as they settle the lands, as well as the elemental monsters that survive.
All right, and Dwellings of Eldervale is a cool point salad worker placement game that you summon dragons and wizards and warriors of the past. During the game, you play as one of the 8 unique factions, and they each are double-sided. So a lot of replayability there. And during the game, your goal is, guess what? To build a dwelling. So you want to be the most prosperous, most dwelling.
Sounds like there's a monster in their midst.
Oh, yeah. During the game, you want to put out some dwellings. And a really cool way to do it is with the little meeples. And then you put on a little hat, also known as a dwelling. And there you go. You have a little dwelling. But during the game, you go through dungeons, go through adventures, picking up adventure cards. You trade in resources for gold. There's a lot of cool things you can do in Dwellings of Eldervale. So, Gabby, what do you think about the aesthetics of the game?
I think the aesthetics of the game are actually really, really good. It's probably one of the best that I've seen because I think the overall production quality of it is really like top notch, not gonna lie. I mean, the monsters, they make some pretty cool noises. Ta-da! So when you bring them out on the board, like it's pretty cool to have that like immersion factor to it, so you can kind of hear some monster noises. But the components are great. The game trays, the artwork is amazing. Whoever did the artwork in this was like they did a really, really phenomenal job.
Top notch.
Yeah.
How about you, Jerome? What do you think about the aesthetics?
The aesthetics, I agree. The art in this, because you got the legendary version, and it comes with a multicolored cover. It comes with these figures as well as the standees that make noise. The game trays look fantastic. The artwork on the box, the rule book, the board, it's just everything visually about this is stunning.
Yes.
I think one of my favorite things, and as simple as it is, being a dice whore, is the dice. The beauty that these dice are is just fantastic.
Yeah, the colors are really, really nice. I have to agree, the color selection.
Well, aesthetically, this game is very aesthetically pleasing. Like he said, each dice is colored per faction. So there's 8 different colored dice. Then you have gray dice for the enemies, which is not really needed, but they did it and it looks awesome. Yeah. Also, I think, the coins, the attention to detail that they did.
Yes.
On the coins, you have a dragon on one side and then just the symbol on another side. And also the screen, they did a screen on the meeples, so they look like warriors and wizards. That's another level that they did. So aesthetically, I think the game is fantastic.
Yeah, attention to detail is there. You took the words out of my mouth. Attention to detail, for sure. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's very vibrant. And with the little noises on the monsters, my niece, her face lit up when she first heard it. She's like, oh my goodness. And not even the first time, it was the second time she heard it. The third time, it just lit up every time. Gabby, what do you think about the theme of the game?
The theme of the game, I think it's a little lackluster. I felt like the only time I really felt any sort of theme was with the asymmetrical powers on the player boards. Besides that, I feel like it's pretty, like, you know, what do you call it, copy and paste, or like,
it could be anything.
You know, it could be anything, you know, so, but I think the most I felt it was definitely with the clan, the elemental
and to
factions.
jump on that is, like, the wind people, or the bird people, they can move 2 spaces because they can fly. You know, what do you think about the theme, Jerome?
I think the theme is kind of there. You know, knowing the story of these magical creatures surviving this big event. You know, you got these magical creatures. That's kind of thematic.
Yeah.
You've got these different factions fighting over the new land. That's thematic. But in the end, you could paste a few different things on there and it would still work. I think what ties it thematically is the little story you get and the artwork. That's as thematic as it is.
Yeah, for me, the theme it's okay. You know, it just seems odd that you're like a worker and you summon, you know, these wizards and warriors, and I believe they come from portals. You know, it's kind of cool. You go through a dungeon and you get adventure cards, so, you know, those are points in the end, but everything is just points in the game, so it's a very visually pretty game, and everyone that looks at it is like, wow, that game was great.
Yeah.
And how about setup? What do you guys think about the setup on it?
Well, I would say it's very easy for me because I just watch you guys set it up, or I do something else in the meantime.
I know. I was thinking
they're like the setups and
I was thinking. I'm like, why am I even asking Gabby?
I'm like I don't even know why he looked my way.
It's perfect. I just walk in and it's ready for me.
Basically.
But you know, Drew and I will talk about, you know, it comes with game trays, which makes setup super easy.
Just about everything. Each player has their own game tray.
Yeah.
The adventure cards have their own game tray, along with the little stacks of treasure tokens. The resources and magic cards have their own game trays. The monsters have their own game trays. It literally is just a plug and play almost. I mean, the longest that takes setup is setting up the board when you're putting out the elemental tokens and choosing your faction. That's literally the longest process of setting up.
Yeah.
You see, you guys don't even need me, so you know, like, whatever.
That's it. Yeah. Teachability. Okay. Well, to teach the game, it's really easy actually. They came with fantastic player aids that pretty much tell you exactly what you need to do during the game. And I taught the game 4 times, and we kind of learned it together the first game. But after that, we had new people. I taught new people. It was really easy, and everyone seemed to grasp it pretty quickly.
I think it's even good for the non-gamer. Like, I don't think there's so much to it that even a non-gamer would be like, what am I doing?
So you would teach a new person this?
I think so. I think as long as you know the function of the main ruins, I think you're fine. You know, everything else is just kind of like whatever you see on the board, it is what it is, you know.
How about you, Jerome? Would you teach a new person this?
No.
If they don't like aggressive games, I would say no.
Yeah.
But we'll talk more on that later.
You do a lot of the teaching in our group, so you know it's. I take a back seat with Gabby because you know it's easy to just let you teach it. So this game it's not in depth, but it's got a few mechanics that are like newbies may have a little trouble with it, but I teach newbies Dixit, so
yeah, I teach newbies Nemesis.
Literally.
So you know, don't count on me on that. Yeah. Okay, so what do you think of the ease of play? So, I mean, we kind of talked about that.
Ease of play, definitely. I think at our 3-player game, we played a 3-player game yesterday. I feel like that was the best, like,
but I mean, like,
count.
as in, you know, is it easy to play?
Oh, yeah, ease of play. Yeah. Ease of play, it was definitely very easy to play, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm saying that as an experienced gamer because I've played, like, I don't even know, like, 300-400 different games by now.
You're like 1,100.
So, am I really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I underestimated myself there. But, so I think it was pretty easy to play overall. I don't think it took much.
No.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why we were so timid at first. I guess it's just because we learned a lot of games back to back.
Lazy.
Yeah, come to think of it, I don't even think I used the reference.
At the last game.
I don't think I needed to. No, not even in the first game.
For me, it's basically not a typical worker placement because you do have combat and you've got other stuff going on, but it's a worker placement game. You know, it's easy just to see what you need to do. You're looking at this. I know I need this. I know I got to do this. I mean, it's fairly simple.
And what I like about the game too, ease of play. There's only 2 actions that you can do. The first action is to place a meeple on the board. And you just have to make, there's the first placement, which you have to place in an unoccupied space. And then anything after that, you just have to follow the movement rules of those workers. And then the second part, which I think is really cool, is the regroup phase. So during that phase, most of the time in worker placements, you do a regroup. And all you do during that turn is grab all your meeples back and that's it. In this one, when you regroup that worker, you place it on a token or a card or a dungeon, and you get to do an ability. And I think that's awesome. So it doesn't feel like a complete complete waste. You actually get resources and maybe even other meeples or summons. It's a big part of the strategy as well.
Big part of the strategy.
I think that's one of the things that makes it a cool and unique worker placement is that you're not just grabbing all your guys and throwing them back on your board. You get extra actions when you do your regroup because I mean even there's combat in it, so you if you lose you go to the underworld, so you can get resources while you're in the underworld, and if you've got the right character you can actually use those underworld pieces on your cards to get you other stuff. For the most part, if they're dead, they go back to your player board. But I think that's a cool mechanic.
I agree. How about the flow of the game?
I think the flow of the game was best at 3. Granted, we have only played it at the smallest player count at 3 players. But I think that was the best way because when there's too many people, especially in our 5-player game, it was like by the time you wanted to do anything, you couldn't do it because somebody else already took your spot. I mean, you're literally waiting for 4 other people, and the map isn't as big, and so.
How about?
Yeah, I feel the same way. At 4 and 5, I think it slows down a good bit. And if you get somebody that's got AP pretty badly, it's really going to be an issue. But I know there was at one point in one of our games, in the 5-player game, that Nate was doing something, and I was like, oh, I can do that, and I'll do this. And then I had 2 other people to go in front of me, and they completely stopped that me from doing any of that. So it's like the flow is kind of an issue when it comes to not being able to do what you were wanting to do. And so now I'm having to stop, reassess what has gone on and what I need to do and get done.
Yeah, for me the flow in the beginning of the game is pretty fast because you can only do certain actions and everyone's trying to just get on the board. And during the game there is a peaceful phase where if you go with other people, you're not causing a battle immediately. You're not causing monsters to come to you. So I like that. And also I looked it up on BGG. Everyone says that the best player count is 3.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yes.
After playing it 3, 4, and 5, I can
I agree with that. Our 3-player game was really smooth. It was also our 5th game of playing the game. And we were just knocking out the minis. Our game only took an hour and 40 minutes, and for such a big box game, that's a pretty good time. And our 5-player game wasn't too bad either. It was 2 hours and 20 minutes, average, 25 minutes per player kind of thing. So it was not too bad.
Yeah.
And actually, we were talking about time of play. What do you guys think? Yeah.
I mean, we averaged it out when we were looking at total time between different players. It was 25 minutes per person. So I think that's not bad, to be honest. I mean, at least for us, we're typically used to playing longer games. So for us, I mean, a 5-player game of what was it? 2 hours and 20 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty phenomenal because we've played longer games like Mansions and Nemesis, and those have taken hours.
Yeah, because the box itself says 30 minutes per player, so 25 minutes per player is pretty good.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty accurate.
I agree. I like long games. I've played a couple Nemesis games where they've gone 3-4 hours, even 5 at one point, and I enjoy it. long games don't bother me. The length of this game felt okay.
Yeah, for me, it definitely, the time of play felt fun. Like, as long as the game doesn't feel long, I'm okay playing as long as the game as possible. You know, when we were playing Sleeping Gods, we went 11 hours, and the only reason we stopped was because we were hungry.
Agreed.
So I think time of play is good. They're accurate on the box,
I agree.
which you can't complain about.
Yep.
All right, so what do you think about replay value?
Oh, I think it's there. Honestly, this game, I mean, we played it 5 times over the weekend, and I never played the same faction once or twice, and there's just so much between 8 different elemental clans, 2 sides of the board, 2 sides of the monsters. It's endless replayability, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, the fact that there's so many factions, each element has 2 to choose from, and even from those, these are the elves, these are the trolls, and they both have different asymmetrical powers. The trolls here use extra powers on dragons and warriors, whereas the elves use different powers on workers and wizards. I mean, that itself adds so much replayability in this. Not to mention the adventure cards and the magic cards that you get. There's a ton there. We never went through the entire deck of either the adventure cards or the magic cards. Yep. So that adds to a ton of replayability.
Also, not forget to mention, we played 5 basic games. We didn't even add any of the modules. We didn't add mercenaries. We didn't add the extra tiles. There's also a solo variant as well. There's so many different game types that we haven't not played yet. So you definitely get a lot of value out of, playing the game. Yeah.
Agreed. Yep.
And so talking about value, do you think it's worth $212 for the Legendary Edition?
Our bank account sure the hell didn't. I mean, it's a great game aesthetically. It's very pleasing. It's a very beautiful game. The artwork is there. They really put a lot of attention to detail, as Nate mentioned earlier, with the game trays and the meeples and all that stuff. I mean, I think the quality is there. I think 212 is a little steep in my opinion. But I mean, I still think it's worth it, but I definitely think the price point should have been a little bit lower, in my opinion.
How about you, Jerome?
I mean, I didn't spend anything, so it was great value.
That's the best value.
Yeah, it really is. I can't really speak to value because I didn't pay anything. But if I were to have bought this game, I would think that the value I got is fantastic. I mean, with as much replayability, as beautiful as the art is, I mean, yeah, it's worth what you got.
I agree, especially with the monsters making noise tokens. The game trace setup is so much faster. Imagine if we had that for Nemesis or any other game, it would be so much faster. And that adds value to me because time is money. And if I can set up this game in 10 minutes, and it takes 2 hours to play, it's not so bad. But if it takes an hour to set up, then 3 to 4 hours to play, that would add tremendous amount of extra time that I may not have. So for me to get this game on the table, it's much easier.
Much more likely, yeah, definitely. Because there's so many games that we have that we like to play, but that setup or even the breakdown or both, it's just it's brutal. And that's what doesn't get it played as often is because of that setup. So I think board game designers and companies should really pay attention to setup time because, I mean, not everyone has the time. No.
So, and me personally, I think this was worth every penny price-wise, for what you got as value. So this is the fun part, where I'm excited to hear your thoughts on overall the game. Gabriella?
Do you want my thoughts first?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, well, I'll set the tone then.
Oh, wow.
Just kidding, it will get better from here.
Dun.
Yes, the mood octopus is definitely going to this side. This game, let me tell you, this game is so aggressive that it had made me feeling some type of way. I felt anger and rage like I've never had in a board game before, and I've played plenty of competitive battling games with combat and all that, but this game, man, I mean, it just part of the reason was because I just got stomped on the last 2 games that I played. Everybody kept fighting me and killing me. Their excuses is that I was where they needed to be, but whatever. I was just trying to find my own way over here.
I mean, play, bad. It's not my fault.
Whatever. and also the combination of my dice rolling, like it was like literally just shy. Every time it just, just the one die just made me lose. Because what was it? Was it you and I? We rolled like 2 or 3 sixes each.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I failed because my 4th die was a 3 and yours was a 4, and I was like, no.
All right, Jerome. How do you feel? Should I change this? Should I leave it?
Yeah, we're gonna leave it right here. Frowny face.
But overall, the game is good. It had me wanting to play it multiple times and have that revenge game, but I never got that revenge
game.
I
can keep the game?
No.
The game itself is good. I mean, the gameplay is good. The art in it is good. The quality is good. This game is not for me, though. I'm not an aggressive gamer. If I'm playing competitive games, I like something like Blackout Hong Kong, where it's single multiplayer.
Multiplayer solo.
Yeah, multiplayer solo, where you don't really have any interaction with what the other players are doing, but you're still competing for the highest score. I don't like being aggressive, and there were a few times where I got aggressive, and it caused a little bit of anxiety for me, just because I'm not used to doing it. I mean, and yeah, I picked on Gabby, not on purpose, but literally because she went to...
That was the smartest move.
Yeah, she went to a place that I needed to go, so I had no choice, because literally it was the only thing... It's the only thing she could do, but it was the only thing I could do.
Because the map is so tight.
Yeah, not just the aggression, but... one of the other issues I had is I was getting anxious and stressed because of the lack of tactics and pre-planning that I could do, because by the time Nate and Gabby both went, my tactics were out the window. So I was stressed trying to figure out what I could do to continue gaining resources and building my dwellings and getting... It's just, I don't know if it's too much for me. The game is too much and too much going on, but I could not enjoy it because it was just so stressful of everything that was going on.
And for me, I could turn this around because I really did actually enjoy the game. I definitely experienced some stress a little bit in the first game, but once I realized how the game flow is, and once I realized how efficient you have to be, that made me really happy. Some of my favorite games is like Gaia Project, where you have to be extremely efficient with your turns, make sure that you don't make any mistakes, and I really enjoy that. You can't prevent some of the stuff that happens to you, but I enjoyed, rerouting my turn. Like, okay, well, I can't do that, so how can I do this? This sucks because, now I have to battle Gabby, but how can I prepare for that? I really enjoy that, strategic and being able to think on my feet, And what helped me out with this game too is I kind of just ignored everyone else's turn, just let them do their thing, and then when it was my turn, I looked at the board and I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do, and boom, and that was it for me. And that really helped out, because usually I stress out a little bit. I don't really like aggressive games as well, but for some reason this one clicked, and I think it showed too, because I scored pretty well just because it clicked for me.
Yeah, the last game he stomped on us.
Yeah, I think it was 40 points ahead.
It was like at 50 before we even finished the game.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
So it was good for me. So
for you.
And do you want to close this off, my love?
Sure. So we really hope that you enjoyed our review on Dwellings of Eldervale, and we hope that this can help you determine whether you want to purchase it or not, or what, maybe even if you have purchased it, what type of group you want to play with, because this is definitely not for the faint of heart. It's definitely not for everybody. So I think this one is definitely a little bit niche for the game player, I would say.
I agree. Yeah, especially for the average gamer. It depends, price point and... Just, I guess, price point is a big determining factor. Yeah,
that as well. So, so thank you so much again for watching. If you guys want to follow us on other social media platforms, we'll leave our info down in the description bar. And we hope to see you again on our next video.
Thank you.
Peace out.